Sometimes I wonder if scientism is any better than fundamentalist Christianity. You know that the natural science fundamentalists or the natural science extremists, and yes, I think it's pertinent to call them that sometimes, they have often mocked the Bible, goes without saying. They mocked things like, especially the parts of the Bible that are concerned with creation, how the world was created. This notion that the world was created by God in only 6 days, that is often mocked, ridiculed, and thought of as laughable. How is that even possible for God to create everything in the world in only 6 days? And then the other thing is this idea that the world is around 6,000 years old only. That's also mocked. But here's the thing. Practically everybody today, at least in the Western world, I think in most parts of the world, everybody who's gone to school and everybody who's read anything about science and any standard textbook believes in the Big Bang Theory, that the universe was created about 13.8 billion years ago in a Big Bang. Now, what a creation myth isn't that? That's some extreme creation myth, isn't it? That out of nothing, and when I say nothing, I mean nothing, in a singularity, everything was created in an instant. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Every single particle that exists in this universe was created out of nothing in one instant. Talk about an extreme creation myth. And that's self-evident to everybody. That's nothing that's laughed at. And of course, this is a theory. It's a good theory. It looks as if when you measure things out there in the universe, physics around it, it looks as if the universe was created about 13.8 billion years ago in the singularity, in the Big Bang. It's a good theory, but it looks like that, but it is a theory. It might have been might have come about in a completely different way. We don't know because nobody was there to document it, obviously. But it's considered as a given today. It's considered a fact, and nobody thinks there's anything strange with that. People who think it's ridiculous to believe in God and that God created everything in just a few days, they think it's perfectly natural that out of exactly nothing, exactly everything was created in an instant. I think that's a bit peculiar. And the other thing, the thing about the world being only about 6,000 years old, well, as it happens, 6,000 years ago, according to the standard version of how humanity has evolved and how civilization began, it was about 6,000 years ago that civilization started simultaneously, kind of like a cultural Big Bang, if you will, simultaneously on several continents on this planet. And before that, it was basically Stone Age, and then Stone Age, and some more Stone Age. And then all of a sudden, civilization began in America, in the Americas, in Asia, in Europe, Middle East mainly. And then from there, it's gone upwards, 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 according to the standard story. Now, as it happens, this time frame, 6,000 years, as you hear, coincides with this talk in the Bible about the world being 6,000 years old. Coincidence? Perhaps, but I have a hard time believing in coincidences, so I think it's more like a synchronicity. It might not be as a conscious synchronicity by the involved parties. I don't think it is, but it is kind of interesting that it is the same time frame. And what do I know? This might very well be what the people who wrote these parts of the Bible they might have referred to the restart of humankind, the restart of civilization, which was about 6,000 years ago. That might be the whole explanation for this. I don't know. I'm not saying that this is the case, but it's kind of interesting that these two time frames coincide. And a restart, I think it is. I think this, I believe this because I've been talking about that many times, and I've been interviewing people on the podcast who have talked about this as well, that 6,000 years ago there was a re-emerging, a restart of civilization. And before that there were several thousand years of dark age, you might call it. Before that there was a cataclysm or several cataclysms, and before that there were one or more advanced civilizations. So we've been there and come back down and then up again. I think several times, actually. Personally, I believe this has happened in many waves. I heard just the other day that they have now found evidence that a hominid, albeit not Homo sapiens, they think, but an advanced hominid, was able to cook fish with controlled heat, not just throw fish in the fire, but cook it with controlled heating 780,000 years ago. 780,000 years ago. This has been from findings in Israel. So I've seen so many magnificent, fantastic megalithic sites during this month of November. I'm recording this on the 30th of November. As you know, many of you know, I've been to Peru and Bolivia, participating on a tour arranged by Brian Forrester and his Peruvian associates, and it's so obvious that many of these megalithic sites are built in such an advanced way, or at least the core of them has been built in such an advanced way, and with such large stone blocks and things like that put so tightly together that it's completely obvious to me and many others that this cannot have been built by the civilizations, the cultures that we know of in standard history, that like the Incas, who didn't arrive to the area until about 1,000 years ago.
So this is the Coricancha temple, inside the Coricancha temple, which was covered with gold sheets when the Spaniards came in 1534. So this is one single piece of stone. This is one stone block with 24 angles. 24 angles.
So it's becoming more and more provocative, I think, to hear the standard academics, standard scientists dismiss the natural insight that you get when you study these things, the natural insight that we have been here on this planet in an advanced form for so much longer time than we're told in the textbooks, and built earlier civilizations. There is a new, I think I've talked about this, or at least written about it. There is a new series on Netflix made by Graham Hancock and partly Randall Carlson. At least Randall is a kind of the lead figure of the last episode of that series. It's called Ancient Apocalypse, and it is about exactly this thing, that there was an ancient apocalypse, and before that there were higher civilizations, and the remnants of these we can see today. They're like evidence is staring us in the face in so many places around the world. And this TV series is about that. And it's immensely popular now. I think it's number 2 among documentary series on Netflix right now, which is excellent. But then you see, I've to some extent follow the discussion and debate about that series on Twitter and other places. I don't follow Twitter very much, but sometimes I hang there a little bit. And I can see that there are quite a few protests against this series, and some writers out there, mainstream writers, they wonder, they're very upset, and they wonder how Netflix could allow this to be aired. There was one article in The Guardian that had the headline or this is not, I mean, this is, I'm paraphrasing, but was something like, "This is the most dangerous series on Netflix right now. This is the most dangerous series on Netflix right now. This is why you should not watch this series." And when I see something like that in a mainstream medium like The Guardian, I think, wow, this really sounds interesting. I gotta check this out. And also note the name of the paper, The Guardian, which means gatekeeper. I think that's kind of that kind of illustrates what it's all about. I mean, many of these mainstream outlets are gatekeepers for the preservation of the current order. The preservation of the current order. We are the guardians of the current order of things. Now, that has nothing to do with left and right. You may know that The Guardian is considered a left-wing newspaper, but this has nothing to do with that. It could just as well have been a right-wing newspaper. Many of those are also guarding the order of things. Maybe not in this context, but in other contexts, they are guardians, also gatekeepers. So these were my musings today. I hope they gave you some food for thought as well. Until next time, love you guys. If you like this video and other interviews and talks on Mind the Shift, please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate all the support. And you can follow Mind the Shift on Facebook and Instagram. And you can follow me, Anders Bolling, on all the main social media and also on medium.com. Thank you.